If your watercolor looks flat, or there's just something that doesn't feel quite right, it's 100% not your technique, and it's definitely not because you're not talented, because it has nothing to do with that. Hey everybody, I'm Zara with Watercolor Wizardry, and in this episode, we're gonna talk about why some paintings, especially for beginners, but this can happen to more intermediate painters too, why the paintings still feels like it's not quite done. It feels flat. There's just something off about it and you're not quite sure what to do. Or you know what to do and you're afraid to do it. That's another thing. Okay, so point one. You're painting the object. Like if you're painting an apple, you paint how you think an apple should be versus how the light, sunshine, studio lighting, it doesn't matter. How light interacts with that subject. All right, so for example, let's not think about the apple. Let's think about a white mug on a white table with white background. How are you supposed to paint that? Because when the light hits it, there's going to be light areas, there's going to be shadow, right? There's going to be dark areas where the light can't get to. And then there's highlights too. And then there's reflective light, possibly. Anyway, all of that's going on. So you don't just paint a white mug on a white table. Like, how are you going to do that without it looking like a cartoon? You're going to think about how the light is hitting that object. You know, what's it doing to the handle? Are there highlights? Is there, bouncing off light from the mug to the handle? Like things like that. What is the handle's position and what is the light's position in relation to that mug? And that's how you would show a 3D subject. So if you paint something, the idea of it versus how light interacts with it, the idea of it, you're going to end up with something flat because you're not translating or showing how light affects a 3D object. Realism doesn't start with objects. It starts with noticing how light behaves in relation to that object, right? Point two. Beginners stop way too early because they don't want to ruin what's already done. And I've been there. I understand. Like there was a time where I wouldn't want to touch a painting, even though I knew it just wasn't quite there yet. But I didn't want to touch the painting because I'd already spent so much time on it. And it was really nice, but not quite there. And I was proud of how far I've gotten. This happens a lot to beginners and it's perfectly natural, perfectly normal. It's part of the journey. You have to have contrast to show your object, to show the realism in it. When we look at something, our eyes are able to pick up the lightest and darkest all at the same time. When you have a painting or a photograph that has that beautiful range, it's better. The more range, the better. When you can show off the highlights and then the very darks, that looks real. Point number three. So point number three, we don't spend enough time with the midtones, the transitions from the darkest darks to the lights. You have to have that midtone. That's the body of the painting. That's actually the most time you're going to spend in a painting is midtones. That's the bulk of the work. And just getting it all right. I love hyper. I love painting in that way. It's not the same as photorealism where you're mimicking the photo exactly. Hyper to me is picking and choosing what you want to have with soft edges, drifting away, drifting out of the painting versus the sharpest detail. You choose that. You choose all that. And you choose the depth. You choose how to present a subject. But I call it hyper because you really are detailed. You're really, getting into the nitty-gritty of it. But this is for beginners. This is for beginners quitting way too early. get in there. So a lot of the times beginner rush through midtones to get the painting done, and then it's not quite done. The midtones is the body of the painting, the body of the subject. And that's where the fun is, to me. So the lights and the darks, they're kind of like your anchors. And if you have lights and darks, like the darkest darks and the lightest lights, you have contrast going on, right? But there's no body, there's no form, there's no depth. Midtones is where it's at. That's where you're gonna spend the most of your time is in midtones, the transition from the dark to the lights. And a lot of beginners rush through this and they don't think, they're taking too much time. Take all the time you need. The painting, it's never really done. Like I'll admit, you can work on a painting for the rest of your life. Paintings are never really done. You just stop working on them. And there gets to be a point where there's just not much more to do, right? You're gonna have to let go. But point 3 is to say that midtones it gets rushed or gets ignored by beginners. And if you just spend more time really observing and really adding the depth into your painting, it's going to look fantabulous. So if you think of it, if depth comes from how you think about light and your decisions, not how steady your hand is or not how well you control the water, then the flatness part of it, it's not failure. It's not a lack of talent or anything like that. It's just feedback that you just need to spend a little bit more time and add more depth into your paintings. That's all. And once you understand that, all you need now is just more practice, more time spent on your paintings, just to nail it, just to get it right. And that's what I'm building at Watercolor Wizardry, is step-by-step lessons, guided exercises that help you train your eye and make confident decisions and see real progress in your paintings. So if your watercolor looks flat, feeling flat right now, it doesn't mean you're bad at this. It means you're ready to start thinking about light and how light interacts with your subject and the decisions that you make instead of details. It's not about the details. It's about how light interacts. And that's a learnable mind shift. Instead of painting the subject, you're painting how light interacts with the subject. So if this was helpful, make sure to follow or subscribe or download the podcast episode, because this will be a podcast. So you don't miss the next lesson and you just follow along. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the number one lie that either beginners are told or beginners believe somehow for some reason. And I believed this for a long time too. But we'll talk about that in the next video. And it's going to be right here if you're watching on YouTube. If not, if you're on a podcast, it'll be our next episode. So I will see you later.